always staying fly.
And I'm Tatiana, and let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Pretty Girls Don't Speak.
Pretty Girls Don't Speak. We got a great episode today. It's going to be a more serious episode talking about addiction and battles with addiction, negative things that might bring, and how to potentially make steps to get yourself out of addiction.
Yeah, and pull ourselves out of that hole. So I'm just going to start with a little bit of backstory about me. Yeah, I come from an addictive background. My mother, she was addicted, and when I was in her womb, she was using substances, and so that's the womb I came out of, just a real toxic womb. And so at a very young age, at the age of 13, I started doing crystal meth. At the age of 14, I started consuming crack cocaine. Alcohol always was in between that. So you can only imagine a young woman's mind developing with all those chemical substances. It was not the best of the best. And I found myself in places that were just unruly. I found myself real low. I had no idea who I was, where I was. The only thing that I knew is that I wanted to get that next fix or that next high, just chasing the dragon, I think they call it.
Wow.
And yeah,
it's a hell of a phrase.
Yeah, chasing the dragon. And so within this, I got my kids taken away from CPS. I fell off of 3-story buildings. I got into near-death experiences to the point if I never have woken up, I would have never known I was dead. I lost a lot of weight, stayed up for weeks, walking around with shadow figures, because when you stay up for that long off of these type of substances, you start seeing things. And so it was a complete deluge and a paranoia. And throughout that process, my kids were in it, and through my selfish decisions, it really hindered their growth throughout their childhood as well. So I had to pay the consequences, and through my selfish decisions, I call it the desires of the flesh. And so one day, boom, fell off a 3-story building and changed my whole trajectory. So for a very long time, I didn't even know who I was at all until I turned about 30. And that's when I really started figuring things out. And I had to reprogram my mind to get to where I am today. So I'm going to let Tatiana talk a little bit about her back history, and then we're going to get into, how we overcame and made the decision to change.
I just want to preface this by saying that when me and Jai went on this journey to film this podcast, we literally did not even know each other. Like, we did not know each other. We had seen each other pretty much in passing. And when we sat down with the idea to start a podcast together, we poured our stories out very vividly in the middle of the day at a Starbucks. Everybody's probably listening to us. And I was just so moved because sitting next to this powerful person, you would never believe the stories of even a fraction of what she went through. And then you just keep going, and the more you get to know, the more dimensions that comes, you really respect and appreciate someone who not only is self-disciplined, but chose to love themselves, their family, and move past everything that they went through to be on the other side. And you're welcome. I truly am so inspired every time I talk to this person right here. But yeah, my backstory is, I'm Mexican. I was born in the culture that you drink when you're young. Mm-hmm. It's normal. You're a kid. And even though I wasn't drinking when I was a baby, let's say that my tios had like a Tecate can, and they had the lime and the salt on the rim, and they're like, oh, you could have the lime and the salt. And I'm like tasting it. I'm like a child, and I got memories like that, like 5 years old. But at like 14, I remember I went to where my family's from, originally in Mexico, and I started drinking in large, copious amounts where I was getting blacked out 3 days in a row at 14. And at first it was fun, it was games, whatever. My grandma was crying, but everybody else in my family didn't care. It was funny. So they nicknamed me La Borrachita de Amatlan, which is like the little drunk girl of the city that my family is from. And it was just, I took pride in it. I felt like, okay, I'm making my family proud. I think that's how I felt at the time because I kept doing it.
Yeah.
It was rewarded behavior almost. And I was sloppy, like I was getting carried out, and I just continued. And I was a hurt child. My dad was a huge alcoholic, huge alcoholic. He would get, violent. Like, I wouldn't say that my dad was a super abusive human being. However, in ways, he was very abusive. And a lot of that is because not just the shitty background he had as a child growing up and all the hurt he went through, but also because of substance. And he struggled a lot with mental issues because of that, and it affected me from a young age to where I would start stealing their tequila and putting it in little water bottles, taking it in my backpack to school, not even to look cool for anybody. I'd be over there sipping warm ass Jose Cuervo in the bathroom.
Oh,
that's how you know I was hurting. And I was just drunk all the time. And now looking back, I'm like, oh wow, I was popping Xanny bars in geometry. Maybe that's why I failed 3 times. Maybe I wasn't stupid. I thought I was just not that smart. And I knew I was smart as a child.
Right.
And around high school, that's when all of that changed. I started doing weed. I started, the hookah pens, anything that I could get my hands on, really, cigarettes, anything, pills that I was popping that I was just getting from random kids in my classroom, edibles that people were just baking at home. I could have gotten drugged with God knows what. And that didn't stop, and it never did. And I kept doing it, and it got worse and worse as I got older. And then I lost my father a couple years back. And I just started going down a really bad path, and I was drinking every day, getting blacked out drunk every other day. And I found myself in some weird situations, some very uncomfortable situations that they happened to me, but I put myself in harm's way. Yeah. I use my body as a way to punish myself for not feeling worthy, and I would wake up the next day and I'd be like, bro, what the fuck did I do? Who did I hurt today? Who did I yell at? Who did I tell my deepest, darkest secrets to? Who hates me today? Texting my loved ones, do you guys still love me? I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again, and doing it again and again and again. Constantly berating my family, constantly starting to berate my friends, until one day I started just saying the most foul things. One day I was so hurt and just really ripped my best friend apart. And I just knew that the path I was going down was just not healthy for me or anybody around me. And I'm starting to push the people I love away from me. And thank God that day my best friend accepted me and not just accepted me, but forgave me with the boundary that he set. And he said, you will never, ever, ever talk to me like that or treat me like that ever again. And that was a boundary that I needed to hear, because I had never talked to him. We had been friends our whole life since 4th grade. This person's seen me go through everything, including the loss of my dad, and was like, that was the line. And I was like, you're totally right. I'm not going to drink. And I haven't had a drink since.
Wow.
But it was a struggle. It's hard,
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard.
Because it's easier to slide back down, but it's harder to keep staying where you're at. It's definitely a maintenance of balance. And, like she said, I've landed in a bad marriage, certain situations where I was just, I was the victim, and then I became the victimizer. And, those type of substances can really throw you off balance and just have you all whacked out, man. Like, I'm still maintaining balance.
And I think that's important too. You said like you ended up in a bad marriage and all this stuff, and that stuff will make it even worse, and it'll push you to substance, and it'll push you to needing to numb something instead of just taking yourself out. But it's also not so simple, because if it was so simple, I would have stopped a long time ago. And it's still a struggle. I feel like every day I'm a bartender, and I'm around alcohol all the time.
Boy, that's power right there. Right?
I'm around alcohol all the time. It spills on me, and I'm like, ew, like, I can't believe I used to consume this, And sometimes people are like, oh, you don't taste your drinks, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, at the most, and that's the thing too, is everybody's addiction is different. If you struggle with one substance, you might not struggle with another substance. However, that's a slippery slope. So I would just say kind of like, don't do it.
Yeah.
But some, it really, honestly, the easiest way to do it is to not do it at all. But like when I am at work or something, if I get a straw, I don't even put my finger on top of it, and I'll dip it in the drink, and I'll put literally one drop on my tongue, and people will look at me like, "Oh my God, did you break your sobriety right now?" And I'm like, "No, because I'm only going to do that this one time because I want to make sure that this one drink today tasted okay, you know, and I'm not even taking a sip, I'm not taking a shot." But the feeling of having to even explain myself can be so like kind of downgrading to my discipline and downgrading to my journey.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Or like I was talking about with substance earlier, I still smoke weed. And to me, that helps my mental health. However, weed is a gateway drug. And so I feel like, you know, like a lot of people might frown upon that and be like, oh, well, you're not sober, you know? And it's like, I'm California sober. I stay away from the bad stuff, you know? And like, I see weed as kind of like just like something that has helped me and that I'm not dependent on, something I can go months without consuming. But alcohol was my vice. Alcohol was like, I need it. If it's around me, I swear, if somebody offered me the nastiest shot, warmest shot in the world, I'm drinking it. Yeah. And it's not just 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots, 5 shots, 10 shots. It'll be like 15 shots until I'm blacked out. Yeah. So.
And we've had those experiences where we black out and don't remember anything. And it's just like, you know, alcohol. And I must say, out of all the drugs that I actually consume, alcohol has been the worst for me. It has been that was the one that caused all the pain. Like I even got into a car accident drinking alcohol. I was emotionally hurt from a relationship, and I decided to drink myself to oblivion, get in the car with my children, got all the way down there, got into a fight with the person, my ex-lover, and then I drove all the way back from San Bernardino to Victorville. I'm not sure if anybody knows, that's going uphill. I get a mile away from the house and, you know, I black out and my truck falls off the freeway and my kids are in the car. And what happens is, you know, I wake up and there's only one person in the car with me, and that's my daughter. And she's looking at me upside down with blood dripping on my head, and she's just in the corner, just like, what the heck? And you know, I get out the vehicle, and my son's pinky finger is decapitated. These are the decisions that I made from consuming alcohol. And when it comes to alcohol or any substance, we have to be mindful of what we're consuming because it will consume us. It will consume our reality. It will consume our thoughts, and it will consume us to make the wrong actions. I mean, you know, people drink themselves to oblivion until they have, you know, health problems, but still don't care. Like they're trying to numb something, you know, they're trying to take away the pain. But in all actuality, when you sober up, that pain is 100 times worse. So I encourage anyone to be mindful of what you're consuming before it consumes you. And, you know, we have to be mindful of what is influencing us because what alcohol is called spirits, right?
It is called spirits.
You black out and then you don't know what happened and you're like, hey, did I do this? And people are telling me what I did. And it's like, okay, well, when you blacked out, who's using your vehicle?
Yeah.
Like, and what is consuming you? Like, what is moving you? It's not you anymore. So it's really an energetic spiritual warfare and a battle that, you know, you're being used by an entity. When you black out, you're being used by an entity. They are hijacking your vehicle.
You're possessed.
Your vehicle is your temple, your body, you know? So
yeah, it's actually scary how when you black out, there's so many situations I put myself in that I regret, but at the same time, I don't regret anything that's gotten me here.
Yes.
I am perfect within my body and within my soul right now. I am perfect in the sense that I'm comfortable with my decisions that I've made. I've accepted, you know, my past as crucial to get me to where I am today. But man, one time I was in Seattle and same thing. One big trigger for me when I was on alcohol was whoever I was dating. That's the quickest way to get me from 0 to 100. And
real quick.
Hey. And I was in Seattle and I was so mad at this person for no reason and just get in my car. I'm demanding my keys. And he's like, no, 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 no. After a while, gives me my keys. And I just go 100 and something on the freeway all the way to Oregon.
Wow.
Call one of my best friends. And I'm like, yo, like, and I'm crying. And I'm like, she's like, well, first of all, pull over. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I sleep there. And then I just drive back like a dog with my tail between my legs. Like, what the fuck was I doing? I could have killed myself. I didn't care about that. I could have killed anybody else. I didn't care about that because I was so in myself and not thinking. And a lot of people, I'll hear them say like, oh, I did this because I was drunk. And other people will be like, well, that's not an excuse. I don't necessarily think it's an excuse, but I do believe it. I do believe that somebody might do things that they might not normally do because their judgment is clouded. They literally are blacked out. You don't know what you're doing. And your body is more, it's not necessarily that you're going to do the stuff you've always wanted to do, but you're probably more inclined to do stuff that you would have never done. You know?
Yeah.
And there was a situation where I had a roommate living with us, and it was somebody that was my other roommate's best friend. Guy was a weirdo from the jump. You could see someone and you could be like, that guy doesn't look like he's all there. You know, like the way he acts, his mannerisms, like different things that happen around the house. When I was sober, I was like, I don't like this guy whatsoever. Whatever. He ends up being here for like 3 months, and my dad passed away. So I'm like literally getting blacked out drunk every single day. And all of this stuff is happening. And the next morning I wake up from being blacked out drunk. I wake up at 4 p.m. Not a thing in my stomach. He's like, here, take a shot. He's like, here, take another one. It's like doble maestro, like Cristalino. Take another one. No joke, in like 30 minutes I took 4 shots. Not one thing in my stomach, waking up from a bender from the night before. Then I'm like, dude, I can't take any more shots. You got to give me like food or something. He's like, I'll make you a burger. Take another shot. I'm like, okay. This guy is like someone who I did not necessarily trust, but somebody my roommate trusted and somebody that lived with me. And I guess I'm just too trusting. I always give people the benefit of the doubt, and I'm always nice to people until they give me a reason not to be, which might be a flaw, it might be a strength, you know. And this guy just we killed a whole bottle in an hour.
Wow.
Between the two of us.
With nothing in your stomach.
With not one thing in my stomach. He had ended up making me a burger, but still, like, it's already been gone. Like, that's like 5 shots in, I ate the burger. You know, no water. Drive to where I was working at the time and took a few more shots. He ends up throwing up at the bar. So humiliating. So humiliating. So gross. And then we leave. We go to another bar. We should have came home. And then we pick up Truly's on the way. And we're chilling out here. And I remember him, like...
What's Truly's?
Truly's.
Oh,
like,
Truly's.
Yeah, Truly's seltzers. And we're coming out here, and he's like trying to like dance with me, and I'm like, nah, bro. I'm straight up like, nah. And then I didn't even know this until I woke up the next day. But turns out one of my friends had came over, and he was like this cool guy. Mind you, this guy was like an attractive guy. My friend, still not interested. I still was not interested. Much less the other guy, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But even in my friend who I trusted and he's attractive, I was not into him and was not seeking nothing with him. We were just cool. This guy's sizing up my friend like, oh, I could take you, I could fight you. And my friend's like, what the? Like, I'm just chilling here minding my business, right? This guy's just starting to be a little bit aggressive. And next thing you know, the next day, I black out at that point. The next day I wake up and it's my dad's funeral. And I had no alarm on. I wake up and I see an army flag in front of me, and I'm like, and I look next to me, this motherfucker's shirtless in the bed next to me, and I'm clothed, however, like minimally, you know, I was fully clothed, but still minimal, where I was like, what the fuck did I do last night? Right. Not knowing, blaming myself automatically, but knowing in my head, even if I was blacked out drunk, there's no way I would have gone for this guy. There's no way, because he just was not it for me at all. Like, I was anti him, if anything. And I run out of the room, step 2 steps to the left, and then I'm in my own room. And I'm not understanding what the hell happened. And all I can do, get together, put my clothes on, drive to my dad's funeral. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm texting my ex at the time, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what happened. This is where I woke up, blah, blah, blah. And he knew how I felt about that guy. So he even knew something was up. He's like, no, that doesn't sound right. Mm. Which thank God for that person, because honestly, they were very like not understanding but patient, you know, with me at that time. And I end up going to my dad's funeral hungover. My whole family knew, and I was trying not to make it all about me. Wow. And next thing you know, I text my friend. I'm like, yo, I'm so sorry if I was so sloppy last night. He's like, you weren't sloppy at all. He was like, you passed out on the couch, and I put a blanket over you, and I left you there after we got Jack in the Box. I didn't even know we had Jack in the Box. So I was like, wait a minute. I was passed out on the couch, and I wake up here. I wasn't being crazy. I wasn't being messy, according to my friend. So then I asked the guy, and he straight up is like, oh, yeah, I carried you to my room. And I didn't like that. So then I talked to my roommate. He's like, even my own roommate didn't want to like straight up believe me at first. He's like, no. He's like, see, like alcohol, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, fuck that. So I put my phone on record. Yeah. And I confront that guy a second time. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, explain what happened. He's like, I already told you. And I was like, I don't care if you tell me a million times. Tell me again, you know? He like says the whole story, basically says I was passed out on the couch. He carried my unconscious body to his room. He swears up and down on his mom that we didn't do anything, but I was like, obviously I have no recollection. So
it's like, but why would he even carry you to his room? You were
I was passed out on my own couch. Yeah. I lived there for 2 years or 3 years before him. He was there for 3 months, and you felt like I couldn't sleep on my own couch. He's like, oh, I didn't want you to die if you choked on your own throw up. Bro, what in the manipulation?
What in the manipulation?
And I was just so disgusted. I felt dirty. I felt embarrassed. And still that wasn't enough for me to stop drinking. Wow. That was enough for me to hate that man. And it caused a whole rift between him, because I showed my roommate that voice recording. Yeah. I still have that voice recording. Because in case this guy ever, he tries acting like there was beef. There was no beef. You're a weirdo. You're uncomfortable. Yeah. And it's just things like that bad those bad situations just that you put yourself in when you're under substance are so, what's the word? Like, you don't have to go through that. They're so avoidable. Yes. Preventable. Mm-hmm. So,
what are some things that we can prevent from just not consuming so much, maintaining a balance? Because I know, like, back in ancient times, like the ancestors in Native Americans, they would consume alcohol, but to speak to their ancestors. And it was only like at, a minimum, like a shot. And then they would go like around the fire and, but then what happened was consumerism. Other people started saying, oh, wow, okay, this is what you do for your ancestors. Let me get that. And they started selling it, and they started consuming it in unhealthy amounts. And it's the same with marijuana. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's an herb. It helps with nausea. It helps with
eating,
creativity.
insomnia.
Yeah, everything. When I smoke weed, it helps me paint better. It helps me get into that creative mode, and it helps me breathe deeper and meditate better as well.
Really?
Yeah. And so, but I notice with marijuana, like when I smoke it all the time, like if I'm doing it recreationally, because when I go at it. So it's like, you'll see me with a blunt or a joint like every hour. Mm-hmm. But then I notice like, okay, yeah, it slows me down. It kind of like zombifies me. Yes. Because I don't, and there's a disconnect, and I'm lazy. I eat. I don't want to do anything. Yeah. And so it is the moderation and the maintenance. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, Jai said it's okay for me to smoke, or oh, she said it's okay for me to drink. No, disclaimer. No, there is a balance to everything. And, we abuse these medicinal forces that are actually here to help us elevate.
Yeah, I think that a big part of getting past addiction, and it's actually making a decision. It's you deciding. It's not you thinking or dabbling with the idea, which that might be the start, but to really, really, choose the lifestyle of no more addiction. Yes. Whatever that looks like for you. You don't have to go cold turkey. You could wean off of it. I went cold turkey. I had to. Yeah. I'm a kind of person that, like, when I decide something, it's going to get done. Yes. Period. Right then and there. Like, right. I'm just that kind of person. But it took me a long time to decide this is not the life I want for myself. Yes. I'm worthy why do I keep hurting myself?
Yeah.
Why do I keep hurting the people that I love? You have to decide that you're done living that life, and you have to accept that you have a problem.
That's number one.
I think that's like one of the hardest things, because
Yeah.
no one wants to be the one that has a problem. I'm 25, and people are like, why don't you not drink? And at first I would be so open and be like, I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And I feel like more people should say that they're an alcoholic than they do right now. However, now that I've been doing that, the looks that you get, the stigma surrounded by the term alcoholic, that just means that you have a problem with alcohol, that you're addicted to alcohol. That doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It might mean that you've done some bad things that you are not proud of, but it doesn't label you. So now I just tell people I'm better without it.
Yeah. And you're aware.
Yeah.
You're aware, like, okay, I have a problem. At least I showed that. I feel like that's bravery, because you're aware enough to be like, hey, you know what? I have a problem, so hey, don't try to give me too much. Don't try to even put it in my face like that. I'm letting you know that I'm, battling this issue internally. So, and even with addiction, it's just like addiction, there's so many things that fall under that bracket. It's like overeating, sex addiction, porn addictions,
workaholics is even a real thing.
Yeah.
Video game addictions.
Yes.
Literally everything is, you can be addicted to anything.
Yeah.
And so many people, there's help centers, there's resources. When I made the decision and accepted that I had a problem, I was Googling, how do you know if you're an alcoholic online? And I found an AA center, and I called them. And I didn't know what I was doing, because AA, you think old people, old men, that got DUIs go to AA. That's what I had thought, because I'm a bartender, so I know like that lifestyle a little bit. And then lo and behold, I was the only woman there in that class, and I was the only young person there in that class.
Yeah.
However, I went to another one, and I found another young woman that was there, and she ended up being my sponsor. Oh. But I actually ended up detaching from AA just because it is Christian-based, which I'm not opposed to at all. However, it just felt a little bit more nose up. It felt a little bit like I just didn't feel comfortable there. Let's just say that. Not in a bad way. It just wasn't for me. Yeah. Some people, it works perfectly fine for them. It wasn't for me. I have the self-discipline where I was like, okay, I'm just going to go cold turkey. Yeah. I gave away my, bottles of wine I had in my closet. I gave away like some alcohol. I still got alcohol in my house, and I just don't touch it. And it was hard because I was going through a couple really big vacations. I went to Europe. I went to Mexico back to back to back, and I couldn't drink. And even I had people around me like, oh, just drink and I won't tell anybody. And I'm like, no, dude, I literally cannot drink.
And you made that decision.
I chose every day. I choose every day. Yes. It's like a marriage to sobriety.
Yes.
Even when you don't feel like doing it, even when it doesn't feel like it's appealing to you, you need to say, I cannot drink today. Today. That's all I got to control. I don't got to worry about the rest of my life right now. Yes. But today, I can't drink. So when someone, gives me a drink and I'm like, oh man, am I really going to be sober the rest of my life? And I overthink it. I'm like, nah, I just can't drink right now. Yeah. Yeah. In this present moment.
And that takes discipline.
It's hard.
That takes discipline. And
it's
especially
hard.
like, coming from you work at the bar. And I just find that so fascinating. When she first told me like, hey, where she came from and how she got out of addiction. And then she told me where she works. I was like, wow. I went back home. I was like, wow, I just want to ask her, like, how did you do it? Like, how do you stay so determined and maintain that balance? Because that takes discipline.
It's discipline.
That takes discipline.
But to be quite honest with you all, like, that's why I did this podcast, is to show you how I live. And I feel like you can have whatever the hell you want in your life. Like, that's what I told you. Like, and it goes back to episode 1. Taking accountability for your actions, creating a vision for where you want to go, and then creating a path, setting your boundaries. Yes. It's all the same thing for every single goal you have,
I agree.
And I think, like, we could talk about that, it's like steps. The steps. Step number 1 is acceptance.
Acceptance. acceptance. And when we accept those things that we are accepting about ourselves, they're not too pretty.
No.
You know, they're hurtful, they're painful, they're grudgy, they're down in the rabbit hole. And you know, a lot of people don't choose the journey of healing because of it's too painful. You know, they choose to steady just consume and
Keep numbing.
numb themselves. But you know, because when we have to sit through the pain and actually see how bad of a person we were or how much hurt and pain we're in, like that journey has not been easy for me to actually sit through watching my children, you know, be taken away, or you know how I used to act, and you know just throw the Bible at people's faces, just deep on demon time.
Demon
You know, and I
time.
had to really sit through that and take myself out of myself and observe myself to be accountable. Like, wow, those are the action. Wow, you're ugly. You're ugly over there, Jai.
And
you
that's
know?
the hard part, I think, is the hard part's differentiating when you're sitting with that pain and when you're belittling yourself.
Yeah.
Because I would do that. I'd be so hard on myself. You fucking suck. You're hurting your family. You're hurting yourself. Like, why don't you change? And that would drive me to drink even more.
Yes.
Because I was like, damn.
Sitting in that regret.
And then it's like, the loss of my dad was so much. And my dad, he, the way that he passed away was so tragic. And he was also on alcohol, you know? And I truly believe that had he not been on alcohol, he wouldn't have had the courage to unalive himself.
Yes.
Really.
Yes.
And that's something he struggled with his whole entire life. That's mental illness. Substance can very much trigger mental illness.
Yeah.
You know, all substances. Yeah. You know, I read something somewhere. Weed can provoke early onset schizophrenia and Alzheimer's.
It does.
Yeah, and so can psychedelics with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
So it's like really important to be mindful of the substances you're consuming. Always be responsible if you are. You know, I feel like the use of substances is always like, no, don't do drugs, it's bad, you know? And that's like really unrealistic because that's like telling a 15-year-old, hey, I'm not putting you on birth control, just don't have sex.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like they might still do it though, so just be responsible about it.
Right.
And I think that, you know, that was a big thing with me is like I wasn't being responsible.
Yeah.
There are ways, you know, if you do drink, eat something, drink some water beforehand, limit yourself, you know, or if you're going to do hard drugs, get that tested.
Man.
Have some Narcan around you.
Oh, go.
You know, like.
Or just don't do it at all.
Or just don't do it at all. But if you're going to do it and you really struggle, please be careful because you can die.
Yeah.
Like, you can die. You can hurt others. Just
wow.
Really be in the present moment and be aware of what you're doing and the decisions that are going to come, or I mean the outcomes that are going to come from your decisions.
Make sure you make the right decisions before something chaotic happens in your life. Like I had to fall off of a 3-story building, crack my hip and my pelvis in 22 different places to the point of almost shattering. My head caught the fall, so I cracked the right side of my orbital wall. And I had to learn how to, and it was the most humbling experience, you know. Something tragic had to happen for me to wake up and say, hey, you know, this is not the right node. You know, I stayed in a rehabilitation center. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to talk again. I had to learn how to read again. You know, I had to learn how to brush my teeth again. And through all of that is where I found myself like, wow, let me change my trajectory. And from there, you know, I changed my diet. And being a young girl with so many chemicals in my body, what helped me was to change my diet. I turned vegan and it detoxed me from my bone down. And when that veil was shedded, that's where the pain started rolling in. It was like, wow, I need to I had to reprogram my brain. Like I went back to college and I couldn't even read at a 3rd grade level.
Oh, wow.
You know? So,
and you're like one of the most intellectual people.
Man, through experience comes wisdom.
Yeah.
And with that experience, I'm just here to let you guys know that it is possible. We are walking testimonies. You know, you can make that difference to change.
Yeah, you can.
And some of those things that you need to that you can partake in is really changing your diet. You know, I had to reprogram my brain, so I started reading more. You know, I started doing puzzles. I started painting. I started drinking more water, right? And to be honest with you, throughout the whole thread of the healing experience, love.
Love. Oh,
Love was the most potent force.
y'all, let me tell you,
Love.
love was my quote that
Yeah.
when I really made the true decision to change my life,
Yes.
I kept telling people, I don't want to chase after money anymore. Because I did for a long time. I was just chasing after money, chasing after, the American dream. And then I chose to be love and to be light.
Embody it.
To embody what that means.
Yeah.
To feel the energy of what love is and to bring that into everyone's life that meets me. And that is my goal. And that has been my goal since I've gone sober. Sometimes you stray away from your path and that's fine. But you got to find your way back. To spread your message of what you truly, truly, truly want. Your healed version of yourself wants. And I still, the other day, I was telling you this the other day, I think, but like not too long ago, I was in my room and I just broke down crying because I was really feeling the ugliness of my past.
Yeah.
And all the people I've hurt and the people that I've hurt that are no longer here that I can't even apologize to, that haven't seen me on this leaf of my life. And my brothers that are younger than me and that they had to see their sister, be sloppy like that and be messy like that and kind of shameful. And I felt just this intense guilt and disgust with myself that I just broke down crying, regardless of who I am now, regardless of how pure my heart is. I felt disgusting with myself. And I had to sit there with the pain, accept the pain, and process it.
Yes.
And I wrote, down, I wrote a poem about it. And I just felt what I felt in that moment and wiped my tears. And been like, okay, but let's be real right now. Who am I right now? That was me back then. I love her. I'm grateful for her. And I'm sending her this message right now that it gets better.
It gets better. It gets better. And you have to be patient with yourself because it takes time. It's a process. The healing process is a process. It takes time. It took me I always wanted to hurry up and get things so quick and hurry up and heal and catch attitudes when my kids would have attitudes when they were still healing through my healing. And, I just wanted everything to be perfect. And, the healing journey is not perfection. It's not perfection. It's about patience. It's about patience.
Patience is key.
Self-love. And it's hard to come into that self-love when you feel so much pain. However, if you just sit with yourself, and I'm telling, along on my journey, the breath connects you to your soul, your mind, your heart, your body. It's like when you feel anxiety flooding in from the pain, because the pain is so raw. Like, I'd rather have somebody sock me in the face a couple of times than sit with my bullshit, for real. And the breath just connects you to your healing point. It's just, right, Tati?
Honestly, yeah. And I feel like I'm not crying. I just got allergies right now.
It's okay if you cry.
I got allergies.
It's okay to cry. And it's okay to cry.
It is okay.
That is so healing.
Man or woman.
So many instances that I have broke down and cried. I'm such a hard being. Like I just like I'm not crying.
Do you feel heavily?
Bam.
Like, do you feel your emotions heavily or no?
I do.
I do too.
I do.
I'm a huge, not just empath, but I feel my own emotions. Yes. I call myself neurotic, but I feel very heavily when I'm super happy.
Yes.
I'm like a ray of sunshine.
Yes.
Everyone's gonna feel it.
Yes.
And when I'm sad, I'm like a thundercloud. And the way to release is by crying. It's by stretching your body. You're
getting
trauma.
all those trauma out of those joints.
The joints,
because that's
the
where
muscles.
they're stored. And along on my journey, what helped me is yoga.
Yoga has done wonders for me. Like, and I don't even practice it regularly, but I'm telling y'all, stretching,
but
like, I would be so stiff in my hips, so stiff, and I
that's
couldn't
where
even
the power's
move them.
at.
Yeah, that's what they say. They say because your womb is right there and your sacrum.
Yes.
And when you stretch all this area out, you're really allowing yourself to release. And if you don't know where to even get started, just lay on the ground and breathe.
Yes.
Your body will naturally tell you what it needs. If you want to stretch your arms out, if you want to stretch your hips out, your legs out, if you want to massage, you know, like your body will naturally move into what it needs.
And nature. Always getting out in nature. I must say, like, nature is my bride. It's the nature is my bride. Nature
your
is
bride
my lover.
Or your pride? Your bride?
No, my bride. Yeah.
I love that. And I like that you said earlier that you like to paint. I love painting.
Yeah.
And all I paint is nature.
Wow.
I've painted this backyard before.
Nice.
I've painted waterfalls, the sky. My favorite thing to paint is little clouds, but it's just doing stuff that makes you feel mindful in the moment, present with yourself, and at peace.
Moment. Yes. Yeah. And it's a release. Those creative feminine forces, those feminine energy forces are a release to coming into union with the divine and yourself, you know, and relieving yourself from that addictive mindset. Yeah. Because it's all a mindset, and you have to reprogram your mind, and the tools that are being put out to use are so easily accessible. They're all in you: writing, breathing, nature, painting, what else? Love, conversating and communicating with other like-minded beings. You know, my dad said, if you don't like something about yourself, then change it. And so that always stuck with me. If you don't like something about yourself, change it. If you don't like the pain that you feel, change it. And if you don't know how to change it, find ways to change
ask
it.
for help.
Ask for help.
Resources. Watch this podcast. That's literally the basis of this podcast, is using us and what we've been through to help you guys on your healing journey.
Stay with us.
And to be empowered by yourself. And I think the only way to really be empowered is to heal those problems that you struggle with, the addictions that you struggle with, releasing. But I mean, writing has done so much for me.
Yes, writing is powerful.
Writing, either whether it's manifestation, whether it's releasing your emotions on a piece of paper, you know, visualizing everything. It's just so, and there's no right way to write. You just write.
I like that. That's kind of catchy.
You just write until your wrist hurts. And when I would have English like 101 in college, they'd be like, I don't care what you write, just write until your wrist hurts. Write a whole page. I don't care whatever thought comes in. This grass is really big right now.
Wrist.
Yeah. And that's all it is you feeling what you're putting onto this piece of paper. Whether you have no thoughts in your head, I have no thoughts in my head right now. I don't know what I'm supposed to write, because then what you're thinking will come out.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the most potent form of technology is writing. That was the most valuable piece or valuable thing that you could do in ancient times. In ancient Egypt, they would write on papyrus, like, you know, writing and paper. That was the most expensive thing. I mean, the most powerful tool that you could ever use. It's the most how can I say it? The earliest forms of just the manifestation tool.
Well, even nowadays, like, one, you have the Bible, you know, that's writing.
Yes.
One, you have
with the Quran.
You have all that. You have all those biblical or religious forms of writing, but you also have like code. You know, code is technically you're writing something and it's creating, you know, whether it's artificial intelligence or it's like some level of like technology. I'm not a technological person, but you're literally typing words and it's creating a reality on the internet.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, because it's kind of like coding is creating a visual manuscript.
Yeah, you write it and then it's there. That's a reach, but at the same time, it's
That's
true.
Another conversation.
Yeah, that we could go into that all day. But I feel like just underneath the terms of addiction, it's really important to heal for yourself, for your family, for your body and your soul.
Sacrifice.
You know, when I say yourself, I mean your consciousness.
Yes.
However, like your body also, the more pain you inflict onto your body, the worse you're going to feel. You know, you have to be one. And a lot of times we take this body, this flesh for granted. We take this, you know, experience for granted. and it's important to really ground yourself.
Yes, because the human body is the AI. It is the most intelligent piece of equipment here in this realm.
Mm-hmm.
Is our body, and a lot of us, what happens is we don't know about our body. We're not really taught that in school as to an extent, the anatomy, everything, the periodic tables, the elemental forces. Your body is a universe. It is the periodic table. Each one of those elements are inside of you. And sometimes we lack those minerals, and it does play an effect on our mental health. So making sure that our health is intact, it is
It's
absolutely
crucial.
our wealth, like consuming the correct minerals, consuming superfoods, consuming things, the high antioxidants. These are the things that are consuming the gold and colloidal silvers. Like these are the things that are going to have you out of that mind fog and really reprogram your mind and keep your body performing at optimal level. I mean, you can't put 87 or into a Ferrari. You can't put chicken grease into a Ferrari. You can't put fried chicken into a human body. Like it is that serious. It is a warfare, and these things that we're consuming that are on these shelves are not the best.
Health is wealth.
Health is wealth.
Health is wealth. I've
You have
always
to
said
be
that.
intact.
Yeah.
So changing what? Okay, so we got writing. You know what helped me along my journey too? Subliminal music,
Oh my
like
God,
the
yeah.
affirmations,
Oh my God.
Seriously.
Yeah, if I pulled up
really
my
programmed
Spotify,
me.
if I pulled up my Spotify, you guys, my friends will make fun of me because sometimes, when automatically you're in the car and your aux connects,
Yeah.
and next thing it's like, I am worthy of love in the background. It's like, I am worth living this life. And it's just
Yes.
like, I swear,
Mm.
I sent my healing, because people will come up to me all the time and they'll be like, Tatiana, how do you make it look so easy? How do you just look like you're living your best life every day?
Yes.
Little do they know all the things that I do, and I'll send them my resources. Do you think they listen to it? Probably not.
Mm.
There's manifestations out there for
Yes.
abundance, if you want to make money, but the most important ones I found are the ones for self-love.
Yes.
Because you're subliminally listening to somebody tell you, all of these great things. I am sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong.
Yes.
I forgive myself. I
Yes.
love myself.
Yes.
All just for an hour on repeat,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll go to sleep with that on.
Yeah.
And
that's why we have to be mindful of what we're accepting into our ports. That's what I like to call it, because the body is kind of like an airport, and our five senses are like ports where things enter in. It's like, be mindful of what you're watching, because that's programming your subconscious, right? Be mindful of what you're breathing in. That's why the essential oils are very, very good for the body and reprogramming your mind. Be mindful of what you're putting on your skin. Your skin is the biggest organ in your body.
Yeah.
What you touch, what we're breathing in, what chemicals, everything around us is a warfare. What we're consuming into our mouth, what are we listening to? Because what we're listening to is really programming our mind. So back to the affirmations, like, when you do listen to these affirmations, they do reprogram you. I kid you not, the affirmations were so powerful along in my journey.
Mm-hmm.
It changed my whole trajectory. So we have to be mindful what we're putting into our senses.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And I think once you really make the decision, feel your body correctly, feel your what Jai's saying is your experience with meaningful experiences.
Yes.
When you're feeling yourself and you're doing things that will make you feel good and will make you the nutrition is proper in every aspect.
Yes.
Because nutrition, it's not just food. It's like, how are you nurturing your body, taking care of yourself, stretching, meditating? All of this stuff has been tools that have helped us overcome our addictions, but addiction is something that you could potentially struggle with for the rest of your life, because it is a choice every single day.
It is a choice. You have to make the choice to change. You have to sacrifice.
Yeah, you have to.
You have
to sacrifice, and you have to put yourself or other people first over the substance.
Yes.
That's what I mean by that.
And honestly, it's like, we could sit here and tell you all day of how much free, accessible tools that you have to you. And if you really, truly feel like you want to change and you have issues, we could tell you this and we could go miles and miles along the way, but at the end of the day, only you can make that choice to heal. Only you can take what Jai and Tatiana says, hey, that worked for them, because we're living and walking testimonies.
Yeah.
By the grace of God, we are able to sit here today and actually bring this message to you of healing, love, and abundance, because we have your best interests at heart. Because you know what? We've come a long way.
We've come a long way, and we're two very powerful human beings that, I would say the odds were not in our favor.
Mm-hmm.
Odds were not really in our favor. We could have just been another statistic, and I could still be on my pathway of destruction, and you could too. And instead, we both chose to heal. And because of that, we found ourselves, and we found each other, and we're on this journey to help you guys hopefully find yourselves. I want to leave off with a couple just little messages saying that, obviously there's not one correct way for healing. There's not one correct way to identify addiction. This is just our own experiences. And we both even have two different experiences from each other. So don't be too rough on yourself.
Yes.
Give yourself patience. Give yourself kindness. Feel everything. Experience everything. This is not just a how-to manual. This is just a potential how-to manual.
Right.
Like, okay, this worked for us. Maybe it'll work for you. That doesn't mean it will. However, you don't know if you don't try. I think a thing that really upsets me with people sometimes is when they're constantly complaining about things that they can change, but they don't do it because, oh, that's stupid. That's weird. That's silly. No one wants to do breath work. Oh, I'm breathing every day. Or have you ever been around someone where you're like, take a deep breath, and they're like, I don't feel better. And it's like, no, bro. Breathe until your lungs literally cannot take in anymore, and then release. And that's what upsets me. So this podcast is not for, someone who doesn't want to try. This podcast is for someone who is seeking those resources and really, really wants to better themselves.
Make a change in your life.
Make a change.
Yeah. And you know what? It's like, we do get those people that say, hey, I don't want to try this, or, oh, this is stupid. But you'll sit up there and try those drugs, though.
Yeah.
Like, real quick.
You'll take a shot at the bar right now. And you'll go and you'll
be peer pressured into all the negative things, and you'll go and gossip, and
you'll eat up all of that intense media, and you'll watch porn before you go to bed, maybe hit a couple, hits of the joint, pass out, and then hit your nick 5 hours later just so you could wake up,
and then you're back in the same cycle and feeling like crap. There's the cat down the road. And and it's like, why not make a choice to actually do things that elevate you and make you feel better? Because at the end of the day, you keep doing the negative things, and you're like, oh, I want to change.
What do you have to lose? We're not like, hey, you pay $5, I'll give you the how-to book on how to beat addiction. It's not like that. Yeah. It's like, hey, guys, this worked for us.
Yeah.
Please try it out. If it can work for you, I pray to God that it works for you.
Try it out. Choose love.
Choose love. Be love.
Be love. Embody love. Choose you today.
Love is an energy. Love is an energy. Love is a feeling. And I feel like when you're around us, you can feel it. It's just there. It's just vibing out.
Vibing out.
And it's beauty, So when you make that decision, it's just, you're so strong and you're so empowered.
Yes.
So I think that about does it for me.
Man, so powerful, Tatiana. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Come a long way.
Thank you. What are the odds that leaf would land on that point of grassland?
I don't know. And then that dragonfly that just was that a dragonfly?
It was a hummingbird.
It was a hummingbird?
Yeah, it was a hummingbird. I'm telling y'all, we're in nature right now, and it's so hard to just be like.
And then the cat down the road.
And the cat that's over here. First it's here, then it's there. And
in nature, get out in nature. I can't. Oh, nature is the number one go-to. I tell you. That's my bottom bitch.
Yeah.
No,
that's your bottom bitch. That's your top bitch.
But seriously,
that's your bride. That's your bride.
That is my bride. I come into union with nature because it is the most organic force to get you where you need to start on your journey. Go take a walk. My journey started with a lot of walks with self. A lot of walks. That's how I walked. I walked through my pain, literally.
My journey started with a lot of journaling. A lot of journaling, a lot of poem writing, a lot of pain. Feeling the pain is beautiful, looking back at all of my writings, and I progressively get better over the course of 2 years. And it took a long time. Do not ever label. Don't be like, oh, it took her a year, before she started feeling better. So why am I not feeling better in a year?
Yeah.
Nah, it might take you 5
It
years.
might take you 10 years.
It might take you 10 years, I'm still not fully healed from that.
Same.
I'm still not fully healed, but I am healed enough to the point where I feel good and comfortable in myself.
And we're aware of it. So we want you to be aware of you and always stay in love, embrace you. And my name is Jai. I'm always staying fly.
And I'm Tatiana, and I'm so grateful for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a beautiful day.